Hello, everyone. This is criminal Pat. This is not a criminal Pat Brown. This is a criminal profiler Pat Brown. Welcome, everybody. Great start to the show. All right. Today, I'm going to be looking at the case of Jane Dorotik, who was convicted of murdering her husband, Bob. And that was back in, let's say, when it was 2000. She got convicted. No, that's the spoiler. She got convicted. She spent 20 years in prison and did many appeals over the years, and finally got the Loyola Innocence Project to come forth and managed to get her freed. And so she is now out of prison and living her best life. Okay, so the question on this is, that people always ask me, was she really innocent or is she really guilty? And they got her off in some fashion. And so it's a really fascinating case, because this is not a case of all circumstantial evidence. This is a case with massive amount of forensic evidence. And it just kind of boggles my mind how this all turned out. So I'm going to take you on this little adventure through all the different pieces of evidence, and then you can decide yourself whether you think she should have stayed in prison or not. All right, I want to welcome everybody who is in the chat room, because it's a live show for those who are patrons. Clarissa is here, Michaela's here. Oh, wait a minute, let's see what Michaela, she's done 20 years. I think she has done her time. Well, I think that may be one of the reasons they didn't retry the case, is because at that point she was in her 70s, and they said, oh, the heck with it. It's going to cost too much money. We're not going to take it back to court. The judge also threw out some of the evidence. So they're like, yeah, we're just not going to bother. She's already in her 70s. She did do 20 years. If she was guilty of killing her husband, was that appropriate that she still got less than life is the question. And we could argue that one. The Innocence Project doesn't get things wrong. There you go. Never. No. Let's see. So Christy's here, and Christy said, I did the homework on this one. The Forensics File episode is very good. Let me just stop here just for a second to tell you what I did look at. There are two videos you can see. Hold on a sec. Sorry, I'm in too many places. Okay, so there are two documentaries on YouTube, which makes it easy and free. This one was the 48 hours one. That's a 45-minute version. It is very pro her innocence. And then there is the Forensic File one, which is only 20 minutes and is kind of more anti her innocence, shall we say. So those are the two you can look at. If you're coming to the channel now, you're not here for the live, check those out if you want to before you just stop my video and come back to my analysis once you've seen those. Or so, because sometimes it's good to see what's out there. And what's interesting about what's out there is that both of them leave out so much information and don't go into some of the analyses that I would like them to, in order to show what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. And that's what I'm here for. I'm an educational channel. Again, I'm not trying to solve this crime. I'm not trying to say anybody is absolutely guilty or not. This is for understanding things, criminal profiling and crime scene analysis. And by the way, if you'd like to be in the chat room, please do click the link below in the description. Join Patreon. It's $5 a month, supports an educational channel. And we have 8 lives a month, 2 every week. One is a hangout with all kinds of different stuff in it. And one is the case show on the weekends, like today. And so if you want to support that and want to be in the lives, please do come and join. And if you don't want to do that, that's fine. All of my shows do become public. Once I finish the live show, it will become public, usually within a week. And so every one of my shows is available to the public for free. Please do subscribe to the channel, though. Check my playlists. Click the bell for notifications of other shows. And that makes a difference in supporting the channel again, and so that you get the opportunity to see the shows that I do and learn from them. Okay, so let's go now. I want to wait a minute. Let me run back to the chat room. Just wanted to say hello to everybody and see what they have to say so far. And then I'll go on to the show. There are a lot of people here. I don't think I can get through everybody. Well, that's an interesting point. Pat could talk about alpaca manure, which we have because we're on a farm here and we have alpacas, 2 of them, and make it sound interesting. I'm not so sure about that, but thank you very much. That's Waltzy Matilda, and we also have Modesto here, and Loretta's here, and Rosa's here, and Weevil's here, and the engineer's here, and get in the car. I like that. Aisha's here. What else? Who else do we have? Michaela's here. Rocco's here. Ooh, we got a lot of people here, and I'm going to just miss. Allison's here. Jill's here. Oh, I'm running. I'm getting confused. Okay, Tanya's here. Gretchen's here. And if I'm not saying your name, it's because Lady Jane is here. It's because Bloodbath is here. There's too many people here, and I can't get to everybody. But anyway, thank you for being here. Okay, but if you have good questions during the show, good comments, I will try to see what you have to say. I'm sorry, I was reading somebody now. Okay, let's go to the case. Jane Dorotik, what actually happened? What are the simple facts of the case? I'm going to read from the appeal because it says on the appeal, facts, and I like that. It's not Wikipedia today, but it's from the appeal. And I want to recommend to all of you, if you want to actually know a lot of times what happened in cases, you want to put in the appeal for whatever case it is. And sometimes you have to go scroll through like 8 to 10 pages of Google to even get to an appeal. Sometimes what happens is in certain cases, especially the Innocence Project, is they own the internet. And so you got nothing but Innocence Project. And getting to the details of the case is very difficult because they're giving their slant, which is why they're out there. But if you want to understand the case, you need to get to the appeals because then you can see what the facts are and what the 2 sides are saying. And not get it filtered through a particular organization. So anyway, in February of 2000, this is Jane here and her husband, Robert, we call Bob, were living on a ranch they rented in a rural area near Escondido. So they're near San Diego, and they live on a horse farm, essentially. Looks like a horse farm. Yeah. And this is Jane with her horses. And this is Claire, her daughter, who is quite the horsewoman, and they love their horses. The pair had 3 adult children. Yes, they did. Is that them? No, that's a party. I thought that was a picture of the kids. Okay, it's not. They had 3 adult children. Claire, the one I just showed you, she was living with them at the time, and 2 sons who were not living at home. So 3 kids, and this is very important because during the trial, these kids come into play in the trial, and it's just bizarre, absolutely bizarre. Okay, so Jane and Claire were horse enthusiasts. Bob disapproved of the money spent by Jane to support that interest. The couple was not particularly affectionate, sometimes discussed divorce, but never had a physical confrontation. They've been married 23 years. I think she was, I'm going to look at my notes. At the time of his death, she was 53. He was 55. They've been married 23 years. Now, in 1997, now remember, he got murdered in 2000. So 3 years prior, Jane and Bob had separated. He filed for divorce and sought spousal support from Jane. Why? Because she was the breadwinner. I never quite understood what he was up to as far as earning any money goes. Apparently, he was like, a smiley guy who he was a marathon runner. I don't know why he wasn't making a lot of money or what was going on, but she was making money. So he sought spousal support from Jane, whose employment was considerably more. Okay. The couple reconciled in 1998. So they were apart for 1.5 years. And they resided together at the ranch, agreeing to keep their finances separate. Their relationship was uneven, and at times they argued. Robert started a business, but it did not do well. He was also, at the time that he got murdered, was looking for work. So, and it was stated, or how I want to say it, believed that he was actually looking for a job because he was planning to leave again. That the marriage was really officially over, and he was moving out and would be looking for more spousal support. In other words, alimony. Women, you don't get away with not paying alimony if you're the one making all the bread. And they were used to the other way around, but times change, and he was looking for alimony, which is kind of interesting because all the kids were grown. And when I got divorced 20 years ago, I was screwed. I didn't get any alimony. I couldn't even fighting for alimony was ridiculous. And at the time, my ex was making a lot of money, and I was not. But it was stated to me that, hey, you're in your 40s, you can go out and get a dang job. I was working, mind you, but I wasn't making what my ex was making, and to support my home and all this stuff would be difficult. So, but these days, the tendency is to say, if you are still able to work, your spouse doesn't need to pay you anything. Like in the old days, a woman stayed home for 20 or 30 years. My mother raised us, and she stayed home. Once she quit her work and got married, she never worked again outside the home. And if my father had divorced her, she deserved that alimony. I mean, what was she going to do? Go work at Wendy's? So, but in today's world where they think everybody can go get a job and you're not washed up at 40 or 50, I'm surprised that he could get spousal support from her, because he's a healthy guy. But anyway, I digress. Anyway, so let's go what happened on the evening of February 13th, 2000. She called her friends and said, had they seen Robert? She said that he had gone for a run at 1 p.m. and not returned. And in the 48 hours video, you will see that she says her last vision of him, her last moment with him, was he was in the living room putting on his shoes, this is going to be very important. And I even have a shoe to work with to show you how important this shoe is going to be. All right. He was putting on his shoes. Tying them up and going for a run. He leaves and goes for his run. She goes to the barn where she manages to hang out for 3 hours, and then comes back and says, oh, where's Bob? And he doesn't return home from his run. Now, he was a marathon runner, so keep in mind that it wasn't like he was some a weekend jogger who was like, hey, I jogged for 30 minutes. I'm so tired. I got to go home. He was a marathon runner. So he could have run for a long time. So if one says, hey, why was she not worried sooner? Well, first of all, she supposedly was in the barn for 3 hours or wherever. But also that he wasn't, he was a guy who could run for quite a long time. So she figured he was off running. Let's see. Here's a little picture. Like, this is kind of the area where he would have gone running in. So he's off running down these kind of like curvy roads out there, and getting in ups and downs, the hills that marathon runners want to practice on. So anyway, he's gone, and he didn't return. Now, it says here, she called the sheriff and reported Robert missing. Now, in the 48 Hours episode, she said she went out and looked for him, which I thought was interesting. And I do think she went out. It's not listed here for some reason. She went out supposedly driving around trying to figure out where he was. But she was also sighted by someone at a store in town, like behind the store where there were trash bins. Don't know how accurate all of that is, but that was also something. So was she throwing something away in the trash bins? But she did not. She went around driving around. And one point I have to say about somebody driving around that sometimes has to do with guilt is that if you're concerned that your vehicle has been seen in the vicinity of a place where you're on the road somewhat near where his body is found, you kind of want people to believe you were out searching and not dumping. Okay, searching, not dumping. And so then you have an excuse for why you were out there. If anybody says, I saw her car. I saw her. She was in a truck, by the way. She drives pickup. I saw that pickup truck. Oh yeah. Well, I was searching for my husband because he was missing. And people, The question about witnesses and timing is also important in what the defense comes up with later, or the appeals, or Loyola, as far as anybody ever seeing him jogging or him alive after he supposedly left the residence. So take a lot of things with a grain of salt. All right. So anyways, now she calls the sheriff and says, my husband is missing. He didn't come home because it got dark and he hadn't returned. A search was undertaken. The next day, a sweatshirt, which she stated he was wearing on his run, was found on a road about 2 miles from the home. Shortly thereafter, Robert's body was found in brush next to a road about a half a mile from where the sweatshirt was located. All right. Now, this is extremely interesting. Let's say, if he had been abducted, one would think he'd be a lot farther away than right near the home. However, when you're trying to get rid of a body, you don't want to drive around in the vehicle with your body for too long. It's very, very freaky. It'll freak you out. You know, you're driving and think, oh my God, I've got a body in the back of the truck. I got to dump it. So the chances are you're going to pick something relatively close, and you're going to pick some place that you think is secluded enough that you feel comfortable dumping a body. If you're a complete stranger and you, for some reason, grab this guy, I think you'd be the hell out of town and dump him way far off in the canyons. So where his body was found points more to Jane than to a complete stranger abduction or killing. I want to mention here that she was asked, is there any reason why anybody would want to kill Bob? She couldn't come up with any, but she said he might have gotten into some kind of situation. Well, what situation? No one he wasn't involved in any kind of nefarious activities that anybody can come up with. The guy goes out for a jog because he's a marathon runner. What situation? So that's very suspicious that there's no motive for his murder after he goes out and jogs. He wasn't robbed. Didn't have anything on him. Joggers are really crappy to rob because they usually don't carry money with them. You know, like if usually they have a phone with them, but 2,000? Apparently not. But joggers are not the greatest people to rob. So usually if a jogger is killed, it's usually a sexual assault. He was not sexually assaulted by anybody. So why kill this guy? For what reason? All right, I'm going to get into a witness later that claims that she thinks she saw him. And that's part of the later appeals issues and Loyola. So, but as far as we know, he's just going off for a run, leaving the house at supposedly around 1 o'clock, never returns. All right. Now, what happened to him? Okay, they found him about 2 miles from the home. His body was found in brush next to the road, something sort of like that. Okay, just next to the road, just like if you could pull the vehicle off the road. There was clearly a vehicle that was pulled off the road. There were tire tracks there, which they were able to measure and determine what kind of vehicle the person was driving, which was a pickup truck, and what kind of tires were on the vehicle. So there was absolutely evidence at the crime scene of the vehicle that left him there. Also, interesting enough, there were drag marks from the vehicle to his body. To the location where his body was, which indicated that if somebody's going to drag him, probably it's one person and not two, because you had two people. Because later on, a witness does say, "Oh, there were." I'll tell you now, and we'll get back to it. But a woman later on, at some point, claimed that she saw him near the location in a pickup truck with two Hispanic guys and this white guy sitting in the middle, slumped over. Okay. But there are two guys, and they, first of all, if you're going to if you're seen near the body dump site, 2 miles from home, like what were they doing with him? And why would they dump him right there? Why wouldn't they, if somebody was seeing them, oh my God, somebody's just identified our vehicle and us in it. Why not just drive further away and dump him? But no, instead they're like, oh, look, hi. And then let me pull off here. And instead of the two of us just picking up his body and dumping him, one of us is going to drag the guy out while the other one just sits there. Probably not. So the police believed one person was involved with taking the body out of the vehicle. And let me show you his shoes. This is very important. Okay. These are his shoes. One of the things that really struck them with the shoes is how clean they were. He was supposedly running on a damp, rainy day, and his shoes are pristine. So first of all, it doesn't appear that he was out running. And secondly, if he were being dragged out of a vehicle by one person, the person would probably drag him out by the feet, and therefore the feet never touched the ground, and then he's just left on his back on the ground. All right, so there he's found. Now, what happened to him? All right, she was notified, Jane. She started to cry and asked if her husband had suffered. It was determined that Robert died from blunt force injuries to the head, with ligature strangulation as a contributing factor. Let me show you the contributing factor. That was this black rope thing around his neck. Okay. He had 2 large lacerations at the right side and the back of his head, with skull fractures underneath those lacerations and direct damage to the brain at the back of the head. There was a depressed skull fracture on the right side of his head. In the back of the head, the bone was completely displaced and there was a hole in the skull. Robert had abrasions on his face and ligature mark on his neck. There were abrasions and contusions on his hands, which appear to be defense wounds. Robert was alive when he was strangled. Now, being alive when you're strangled is different than being totally aware when you're strangled. Just want to point that out because a lot of people think, oh my God, that means he was like fighting when he was strangled. No, he was hit first, the bludgeoning. A lot of times what somebody will do is try to finish the person off, and they have to figure out how to finish them off. And one method is, okay, I could put this thing around their neck and that will stop them from breathing. Also, sometimes it can be a staging issue where, let me make it look even worse than just bludgeoning on the head. Let me make it look like something else. I'm not saying that's what happened here. I'm just saying that can be. Okay, so the expert concluded the damage to Bob's head was consistent with hammer strikes. The police interviewed Jane on February 13th. She told the officers at about 1 p.m. Robert had told her, Bob, he was going to go out for a jog. She went to the barn and did not see him leave. When she returned to the house at 4 p.m., Robert was not there. When he had not returned at 5 p.m., she went out looking but could not find him. Then she called the police. She told the officers she and Robert each had a $250,000 life insurance policy, with the other as beneficiary. This is extremely important. Why is this important? It is important because there was an issue over the farm. Let's see if I can find it here. Hold on a second. Is it okay? Hold on. I got to switch to another site because I want to talk about the farm issue. Because the question is, what is the motive? Well, not getting along in the marriage is one motive. Alimony was another huge motive. But both mom and daughter were obsessed with the idea of expanding the horse farm. Okay, let's see. I want to find this one thing, which I can't find. When you have to understand, when you go through all kinds of information like this, and appeals are so long, it's ridiculous. They wanted to expand the farm. He was not in favor. He was like, hey, y'all spend a lot of money on this crap, and I don't want to spend that money. He wasn't into horses. It wasn't his thing. And anybody knows that when one side of the marriage is passionate about something and the other side is not, they don't really like money going to the thing they're not interested in having the money go to, no matter what it is. It's like, to them, it's like throwing money away. So mom and daughter, Claire, wanted to expand the farm, and he was not in favor of it. So his death would eliminate a couple of things: alimony, his objection, and add on to that $250,000 in cash, which could fix the farm up. Mom and daughter are happy. So there is motive in this crime. What motive would there be outside of mom and daughter? Not a lot. Literally, he would have to be jogging along and somebody just decided, hey, look, there's a guy we can kill. And they kill him. They happen to be carrying a rope and a hammer, and they decide to grab this guy. If, 55-year-old guy off the street, oh, okay, maybe it's a hate crime because the other guys are Hispanic, right? So it's some kind of hate crime. Oh, like, hey, look at that stupid jogger. Maybe it's just a person who hates joggers. Anybody driving along, it's like, stupid jogger, stupid bicyclist, the way drivers sometimes think. And decides they're just going to teach them a lesson. Okay. Can that happen? Yes, it can happen. If it can happen, you can't exclude it from the possibilities. And just because mom and daughter have a really good motive and a motorist driving along might have a lesser motive. Oh, by the way, some of you will say, well, maybe somebody hit him. And they're like, oh my God, I've killed this dude. Now I'm going to drop his body on the side of the road and make it look like a serial killer. That's possible, except that there's no evidence, not one shred of evidence he was hit by a vehicle. So his body was fine from here on down. His shoes were clean. His clothes were, no, he didn't get hit by a vehicle. So that, you can exclude that right away. He was, and also they said there wasn't enough blood at the site for him to have actually been killed at the site. So he was killed somewhere else. Now, where could that somewhere else be? Well, it could be, let's go with the stranger stuff that the defense might like, although they didn't go with that. I'm going to get to the bizarre trial and the bizarre defense, which now, by the way, she sued the defense for being incompetent, counsel. And but the idea would be that if they grabbed him, now he's only, mind you, his body's found a couple miles away from home. So I don't know when they had time to grab him, but okay, they grabbed him during that run. And then they pulled off the side of the road and killed him in the back of the truck or in some other location. So they pulled off the side of the road in a wooded area where nobody could see them, hammered him, strangled him, left him in the bushes. No, they didn't leave him in the bushes. They decided this isn't a good enough place to leave him. Let's put him back in our vehicle. Let's drive him to another location and dump him there. Now, you see how this isn't working out. Mind you, the defense did not go with he was attacked by strangers. They did not. They went with that he was killed in the home, but not by Jane, by somebody else. All right. See how this is so incredibly bizarre. All right. Now, what's next? I have two great sites, and I'm trying to decide between the two of them as to how to proceed with this. All right. I'm going to go back to it's funny, actually, there's a lot of information on the site that's pro her innocence, which is quite condemning. But I'm going to use the other site just because. All right. So this is the appeal. All right. Now, what then happened? All right. So they started investigating after they found out they interviewed her. They made a search of her residence. Okay. Blood stains were found in several areas in the master bedroom. That's a lot. When I say several areas, I mean the entire freaking bedroom, actually. Let me see if I can find the actual picture of. Did I forget to? Darn it, that's the photo I've lost. Okay, some of you joke about taking a shot every time I lose a photo. You're on. This is it. Nope, didn't come over. Okay, sometimes it's very difficult to transfer things. So anyway, there was a lot of spots in the bedroom that they found blood stains. All right, now let me explain the blood stains to you. The blood stains were found in several areas of the master bedroom. The patterning of some of the stains was consistent with a beating occurring in the room. Now the defense will say this. They will say that, yes, although they pointed out those blood stains, do you see blood all over the carpet? Do you see blood all over the bed? Do you see like blood all over the walls? They said there's clearly no beating happened there. All right. A lot of beatings depend on how the beating happens. It depends how much you can crush in a skull, but not exactly cause blood to spurt out everywhere. There's a great difference between cutting like somebody knifing people and cutting their throat, where you have spurt everywhere all over the walls, gunshot things, or can be very different. Sometimes bludgeoning will cause a lot of blood everywhere in that form where you walk in and go, oh my God, this place is, And in this case, it didn't look that way. Okay. It looked pretty, almost pristine, except for, let's look for some, there was a blood stain on the pillow. This is on the mattress. This is a large blood stain. It was on the underside of the mattress. The blood obviously had been deposited on the top of the mattress, and then the mattress was turned over, so it was hidden. And mind you, people have turned over sofas, sofa cushions, bed mattresses, because they just get whatever happens on top of those mattresses. It gets kind of disgusting. Or let's say you're sitting on your couch and you dump your red wine on the couch and it looks like crap. You flip. I just wanted to show you before I hit whatever I hit. There we have blood. There was blood stain on the pillow. This was the mattress turned upside down. When they came into the house, because it was so muddy outside, they took their shoes off, and the woman who was checking for the blood spatter pattern and all that, she took her shoes off because they were muddy, and she walked in her sock feet. And when she got near the bed, she felt it was damp, and she realized that area had been cleaned. Now, later on, they brought in an expert to determine where he had been, if he had been hit in that location where he had been hit. And some people go, "Oh my God, look, see, the blood spatter expert it doesn't even have gloves on." Well, first of all, I'm pretty sure this scene had already been cleared. I mean, at a certain point, they do all the forensics, and then they're like, "Have at it." That's so meaningless. Anyway, he determined, based on the blood stuff, that he was hit in the head in the middle of that bed, which is kind of where, if you turn that mattress upside down, you would see the blood would have been if he got his head hit. This is supposedly the headboard of the bed, and has all these little spots on it. There's this blood, and there's this blood, and then this is on the ceiling. Over near, there's another place. This is like a potbelly stove. It's a little bit away from the bed. There's blood on the floor and on the bricks. And see this on the bricks. And what is this? More bricks. And wait a minute. Hold on a second. Let me see this one. There's just a lot of blood. Let's put it that way. Everywhere. And they took carpet stuff, but over by the this is the bed, and over here was the potbelly stove. The blood had also seeped under into the carpeting. I thought I had a picture of the carpeting. What is this? Nope, that's that. Hold on, where'd my carpet go? Let me go to another background. That was on the underside of the carpet. This is the potbelly stove. There's blood on the bricks. There's also this like grate, and the blood went down. Some blood went down to the basement below, utility room, and then there's blood on this carpet. Now, I'm going to say that looks like a crime scene to me. But they asked in 48 hours, and what could have caused all the blood in the house. And what Jane said was, well, first of all, she blamed two of her dogs. She said they had some damage to their little, something in the face and something in the paw. I don't know. Two dogs that they had damage to themselves. So that's why there might be blood everywhere in the house. Now, mind you, the blood appeared only to be in the bedroom. So if you got a little doggy running around, it's got some kind of other issue. The blood's in the kitchen, the dining room, the living room, every place in the house. But it's not. It's only in the bedroom. And besides which, they tested the blood. It wasn't from a dog, not canine. So that was nonsensical. So then they're like, what else could it be? And she said Bob had a problem with nosebleeds. So supposedly he had a nosebleed on the bed, that big huge spot on the bed. That was a nosebleed, not that one. This one. He had a really bad nosebleed in bed apparently, and it soaked into the bed so bad that she asked him to turn it over, and then he had a nosebleed also over here another time near the belly stove that was so bad it soaked into the carpet. Now, I'm going to say this. When I was young in grade school, I had a nosebleed problem. And I remember this moment where I was in the classroom and all of a sudden my nose just went gushing out. Let me tell you, what did I do? My immediate reaction was to just close my nose, to put my hand over my nose, or people do this. And he's an adult, 55-year-old adult, 55-year-old adult. And yet he just gushes all over the bed. He gushes all over the floors, and he doesn't try to stop the gushing. If you want to believe that nonsense, have at it. I think it looks like he needed a transfusion. I mean, my goodness. Guilty as sin. Well, hey, let's not go there yet. They can, but this is not what we're seeing here. We're seeing, we're not seeing that here. So you can. So this is, of course, exactly what she's trying to infer. First of all, I don't know that Bob has a problem with nosebleeds. I couldn't find any information on that because generally speaking, why should he have a problem with nosebleeds? A lot of times this is a children's thing. But when you're older, why is this an issue? He could, I'm not saying he couldn't, but how many people acknowledge that he had nosebleed problems? Did his sons and daughter say he had nosebleed problems? Did his friends say he had nosebleed problems? Like, it was like hanging out with us. We were laughing and joking and blood just gushed out of his face. I don't see any evidence, any information from anywhere else outside of Jane that he had nosebleed problems. So that's an issue. They were hoping no tests will be performed. No. They knew tests were going to be performed on all the blood issues. But she clearly, after the dog claim, wanted to say that if there was any blood of Bob in the room, that was from nosebleeds. There was another interesting issue, which was that in the bathroom was a trash can wait a minute, before I go there. The other reason she said that there was blood in the house, but mostly in the bedroom, is because I lived on a farm and they deal with animals all the time and they're doing work that causes cuts and all that kind of stuff. Well, I live on a farm too. I live next to my daughter who, when she moved here, decided she should get animals. So she has a horse, a donkey, 3 llamas, 2 alpacas, a goat, 4 dogs, and a couple cats. Okay? We have animals. I have never seen any blood in her house, and I've never seen any blood in my house. If something happened to the animals out in the field, it was taken care of basically out in the field. If there was a death of an animal, the animal would be cared for there. We had a couple an unfortunate death of an animal, and the animal was taken and buried. No blood entered the house. Where's all the blood in the house coming from? with all with all the animals. I haven't seen blood spatter all over the walls and all over the ceiling. The ceiling. No, that's cast off. That's when somebody whacks you and goes, and then cast off goes places. And then you have to say whose blood was on the ceiling? Was it horse blood on the ceiling? No. Was there horse blood any place here? They had a horse farm. No horse blood was in the bedroom. The blood found was Bob's blood. Only Bob's blood. And the issue about the trash can, there was in the trash can, in the bathroom, there was also this issue of, let me show you. There was some needles in there, and there was this syringe, and the syringe was this syringe, and it had blood on it. It's not a very good picture. A blood on it, and it had a fingerprint on it. Inside were traces of horse tranquilizer. Now, this is a bit of a difficult question there. All right. The syringe had Bob's blood on it. No question, Bob's blood. There was a fingerprint. It was Jane's fingerprint. When they asked her, why was Bob's blood on the syringe and your fingerprint on it? This was Jane's story. Well, it must have been when he had the nosebleed over here, I guess. He had this nosebleed when he was awake and standing here. And I went to clean up the nosebleed. And then I must have gone and gotten the syringe and transferred his blood on the syringe with my fingerprint and threw it in the trash can. Or the syringe was in the trash can, and I must have put something in the trash can, like a piece of paper, and that's how Bob's blood got on the syringe. And then my fingerprint, well, I don't know how that ended up there. What'd she do? Pack down the trash can? The story makes little sense. That at the moment his blood is spurting out of his face, she ends up playing with syringes. Now, she claims the syringes were in the refrigerator, and that makes sense. Medicines for animals often are kept in the refrigerator. But generally speaking, if you want to use that syringe on an animal, like a horse, it happens in the barn. I don't think the horse was in the bedroom. I mean, hell, I'm going to tranquilize a horse in the bedroom. Let's give him the bed. No, you pick up the syringe, you walk to the barn, you do the stuff in the barn. Then you have the empty syringe. Now, what do you do with it then? Well, some people have a big, huge barn area like that, have a trash area. They don't usually bring the syringe back to the home, go into their private bedroom, go into the bathroom and dump it there. And it's Bob's blood, not the horse blood or anything else. What really is hard to explain away. Now, Bob was not found with any marks on his body, nor was he found with horse tranquilizer in his system. So, does it have meaning? Well, I would say this: it's possible. And the syringe is the lesser of the issues here, but I'm going to just confront it. It's possible that if she bludgeoned him in the bedroom, then the problem was, he's not dead yet. What should I do? Did she think I could tranquilize him? And then she got there and thought, oh, God, that's a bad idea because I'll find tranquilizer in his body. And she dumped the idea. She squirted out in the sink and just dumped it. Is that possible? Maybe. I have no idea. So I will say it's an odd thing that his blood is on that syringe, but I don't have a good explanation for it, a great explanation for it. So let's just toss it out. Also, at the crime site, this was found around his neck. All right, so it's a black corded rope. Well, the police went to the house and they found the same exact black corded rope hanging around the house, and lots of that rope. That was apparently a popular rope for the Dorotiks to use on the horse farm. Now, does this mean that they proved that the rope around Bob's neck matched exactly to any of the rope, like it was cut and matched any other rope on the farm? No, but it was exactly the same rope. So it's from that group of ropes, not necessarily that proof of those ropes matching. Sometimes you can match things like this, but like sometimes with plastic bags, when you pull out all those plastic trash bags and you rip them apart, sometimes there's striations on the bags, kind of like almost like what you would find on in ballistics, that there's these striations, and they're different for every group of bags. So when you put them together, you can see the lines exactly match, and you can prove the bag at the scene matched the bag underneath the kitchen sink. In this case, this is not what happened. But so the defense could rightly argue, well, other people might have the same black stuff hanging around the house. It's true. But when you start putting together totality of information of all the evidence, so now what you have is a problem where he wasn't killed at the scene, he was killed someplace else. We have a massive amount, there's blood at this crime scene. And another thing was they found, when they looked at the contents of his stomach, it was the contents of the dinner he had eaten the night before. Now, mind you, he was supposed to go jogging at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But the night before, he had had this food, and that food was in his stomach. And so it was determined that he probably died it was undigested. So like he died within 2 hours or 3 hours or whatever from when he ate that meal. Now, I don't know exactly when he ate the meal, but let's say he ate at 7 o'clock, he'd be dead by 9 or 10, something like that. The theory is that he was actually killed the night before, and she had that whole night and the next part of the next day to dispose of his body and to clean this place, because it looked like it had been cleaned. And you won't see that in any of the shows, but it looked like the place had been an attempt to clean, although a pretty shabby one, mind you. I mean, the whole thing looked like, to me, something like just, she wasn't that bright. If she was guilty, she wasn't that bright. So that she claimed, here's what she said in 48 hours. Oh, well, what happened probably was he ate that food the night before, but before he went running at 1 o'clock, he decided to eat leftovers and had the same exact food like at noon before he went running. All right, that's not a bad explanation, because I'm a leftover lover. So, I like leftovers a lot. So it's like, I like going to my daughter's refrigerator from babysitting over there and going, what are the leftovers here? Oh, look, Chinese food. Oh, look, this is from lasagna. I like leftovers. I don't know what it is. So could he have just, didn't want to make a sandwich? He was going to go for a run. He was going to be out there for a while, and he decided to eat leftovers. Not unreasonable. It's a good explanation. Or did he die the night before? Now, I could not get good information on what they came up with for rigor mortis, liver mortis, and all the temperature of the body. I couldn't seem to find that. So the question is, how long had he been dead? And I don't know why I can't find that. But anyway, that was her explanation for that. So the rope matched the rope at the house. There was a crime scene. There was a room here that looked like a crime scene that had been cleaned. Now, the question is, was it really cleaned? Because the defense said, well, this is a very pristine looking crime scene. I don't think, there's no way that a crime like this happened at this house, because it shouldn't look this decent. And it does. All right. But if you go to the appeal, which you don't see someplace else, listen to this. When officers turned over the mattress in the room, they found a large volume blood stain near the headboard. There was a folded blood-stained towel between the mattress and the box springs. In a bag in the master bedroom, the officers found a syringe containing horse tranquilizer. That's interesting. I didn't know that one. A bloody fingerprint was found on one of the syringes. That's what I just told you about. The print was identified as Jane's. A bed sheet was found in a hamper with transfer, drip, and impacts blood spatters on it. This is not in either one of the videos. A steam shampooer and cleaning supplies were found in the living room closet. Blood was found on the handle, cap, and nozzle of one of the bottles, also not found in the documentaries. Blood stains were also found in the bed of a truck used at the ranch. DNA testing indicated many of these blood stains were consistent with Robert's blood. Now let's go to, so neither one of the documentaries talked about the fact that there was like evidence like linking to cleaning and trying to dispose of stuff at the house. But obviously there is. All right, so let's go to the truck, which is another interesting point. Okay, so this is her truck. Okay, so they found in the bed of the truck was cleaned up, but DNA that matched blood stains that matched Bob. All right, but there's more to it. At the crime scene, there were tire imprints. All right, let's see if I have any pictures of that. I don't know. I did, but I don't know where they are. Oh, maybe over here. Okay. Oh, yeah, some tire imprints here. Okay, tire imprints at the scene. What's fascinating about the tire imprints is this. Now, they will trash the Loyola people, anybody talking about this crime. Will trash the police. They'll trash the blood spatter expert. They'll trash the woman who did the tire stuff. They'll trash everybody. There were tire tracks at the scene, and they were measured. And first of all, they measured the width of them, and it matched a pickup truck. The second thing they did was looked at all the tire tracks and matched them to the kind of tires that would make those imprints. They came up with the two front tires were one type of tire, and the two back tires, the passenger side and the driver's side, were two different tires. They were different than the front, and they were different from each other. 3 sets of tires. Guess what? When you go to their truck, what did you find? The two front tires were the same, and the two back tires were two different sets of tires, and they all matched the tire tracks at the scene. Coincidence? Maybe another truck out there has that same kind of thing. Maybe the tire track person was terrible. That's what they'll claim. But now let's start adding things together. She was the only one at home, Jane. There's looks like a huge blood spatter scene in the bedroom that has Bob's DNA there, not the horse or the dog. And let me stop here to say, one of the claims that the defense, when she got off, one of the claims was this. Let's see if I can find this statement. They mishandled evidence and failed to conduct adequate blood tests. All right. She was gotten off on technicalities, not because she was proven innocent. Technicalities. They said they didn't prove the blood DNA. They didn't do the proper blood test, and they only did what they called a representation of the blood. And they didn't test all the blood in the bedroom. It could have been somebody else's. It could have been the dogs or the horses or whatever. Here's what happens. All right. Blood test, it's expensive to do these tests. Let's say that, I'm just going to come up with an example. Let's say that, not in this case, but let's say in a case there's 5 different areas where there's blood spatter. Okay? So there's some on the ceiling, some on the headboard, there's some on the floor, there's some on 2 different walls. Like 50 drops on every location. Altogether, that's 250 drops, right? Let's say each area had 50 drops. All right. Are you going to test all 50 drops? They're like in a pattern. Like here are 50 drops of blood clearly at the same time. You're not going to test all 50 drops. It'll be insane. What you do is get a representation. You pick a number of those blood drops. And over here was 50 more. You pick a number of those. And over here, a number of those. And over here, a number of those. And from each one of the 5 areas, you pick out a number that will represent, because you're not going to do 250 tests. That's what they did in this case. They picked out a representation of every area that the blood was in, and they came back with Bob, 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 and Bob. I think that's acceptable. But you will hear this from, oh my God, they didn't do the proper blood testing. They did too. That's just nonsense. So in other words, what they have here is tire tracks that appear to match the tires on Jane's truck. Can they prove it's exactly that truck and those tires? No, but they match. Let's put it that way. The rope around his neck matches the rope in the house. There's a blood spatter all over the bedroom. That is Bob's. All right, what else do we have? We got other stuff. Let's go to the shoes. The shoes are really fascinating. His body was laying there, and I want to show you the picture of his body. Oh, here. Is that it? Hold on. Nope, that's the, sorry. Where does picture was? Oh, there it is. Okay, look at this picture. First of all, the pristine shoes. Clearly, he wasn't running in those, in my opinion. They believe he was dressed after he was killed. Now, these shoes, one of the things they noted was that the shoes were not tied in the middle of the shoe. Now, what does that mean? Let me show you. When you put your shoes on, I'm going to try to hold this with my neck. When you put your shoes on and you go to tie them, you do this. And it's dead center. That's how you tie shoes. Now, when Guy dies, his feet do not sit here like this. His feet go, because he's dead. And it's limp until you get rigor mortis. So it's just basically limp. Now, if he was in bed and he didn't have shoes on his feet, she wants to make it look like he went jogging. She has to put shoes on his feet. So she does. She puts his shoes on and then she ties. Now, here's what happens. And I did this in a more proper location in my house. I tested this out. But essentially, it's like this. So now, his foot is like this. And I go to tie it. And watch what happens. The tie is not in the center. I tried it over and over again. You can't, when the shoe is like this, it's hard to make it go in the center. Both shoes were tied in the wrong place, which indicated to the police that she put the shoes on him after death and tied them on. This was, to me, one of the most interesting things because I was like, why can't she tie them in the middle? Because I thought, well, if you're going to put his shoes on, why can't you just do it yourself properly? But once you see that the feet are like this and you go to try to tie it, it ends up on the side. It doesn't end up in the middle. I was like, wow, that's really fascinating. This is a thing called crime reenactment, which is one of my favorite things with crime scenes. I've done a lot of crime reenactment. The purpose doing this is that I see how it went down. I see if it's even possible for things to happen. Like somebody gets shot. Could they be shot actually the way it was claimed they were shot? If it was a person was stabbed, could they be stabbed the way they say they were stabbed? I tested out by going through a crime scene reenactment. This is one of them that proves he didn't put those shoes on by himself. Okay. So that to me is absolutely fascinating. One other thing, which was interesting, was that they found some of this hair on his chest underneath the shirt, which again, once you got the blood going and the hair, some bludgeoning happens and the hair goes down here and sticks. If he's dressed at the time, it shouldn't go under the shirt. Now, somebody might come up with some reason why it could, but it seemed to appear the blood was also under the shirt, that he was probably not wearing a shirt at the time he was killed. And then she put a shirt on him and dressed him up and moved him from the location. So, and some people say, now the next question is, how would she move him when he's about 145 pounds. He wasn't a real heavy dude, but she's a 53-year-old woman. Could she move him? Because dead weight is dead weight. When a person's dead, it's harder to move them, right? That's true. But she was a farm lady. Now, she had a regular job, but she also worked on the farm. And people who work on the farm with horses, they're often carrying heavy 50-pound bags of feed and stuff. My daughter does it, and she's like carrying all this crap around. There was a woman who used to live right across the way, and she had cows. And we watched some of the births of the cows, and she would be out there with ropes and stuff helping the birth of the cow. That woman was probably in her 70s. And she was strong as an ox. I mean, that woman was tough, really a strong woman. So yes, just because she's slightly older doesn't mean she could not move his body. How would she do that? When, it's not an easy thing. I'm not saying it's easy, but let's go back to the bedroom. Oh, that's not it. Okay, let's go here. Let's go to the bedroom. She has to get him out of the bedroom and down the stairs. There's a deck there too, down the stairs to the vehicle. She works on a farm. Tarps are very popular on farms. There's all kinds of things you can use to move beasts and people. So could she do it? I think so. She had an entire, if he died after dinner and she didn't call for 24 hours, she had 24 hours to clean things up and move the body and get rid of the body, probably in the night, not in the middle of the day. So she had all that time, and I believe she would have the ability to move the body. I'll say it's not easy, but if there's things you can do, say putting a person on a tarp. There's also the methodology of shifting bit by bit. It's a pain in the butt, but you can do it. You can push the body to here, then you can push the body to there. It might take you 3 hours, but you can do it. And the stairs, of course, are down. So, hey, boom, 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 boom. That's not a problem. How does it get into the vehicle? Well, again, she's not that. If she lifts up 50-pound bags all the time, can she get him into the vehicle? Or could she use a ramp to get him into the vehicle? Or some other kind of thing that would lift him? She's on a farm. There are ways to do that. Once she gets him into the vehicle, she's home free. She drives to the location. Pulling him out of the vehicle is not that big a problem. As I said, you can just pull him out, and the body was dragged. So could she do that? Absolutely. Let's see. All the evidence, the physical evidence, points to her. 100% points to her. And there's no explanation for all the blood in the house. And him being redressed. Nobody is going to kidnap him, take his clothes off, and redress him unless they were sexually assaulting him, which he wasn't sexually assaulted. Everything points to her. Now, the defense came up with they had an interesting problem, and she did end up suing, mind you, the defense. This is what happened after she got out, which I was not surprised about. Jane Dorotik has filed a civil suit against the County of San Diego, and she filed against the San Diego Sheriff's Department and its crime laboratory, and she sued the lawyers. That's what I read anyway. Now she says, in the appeal, she said they were incompetent. Why? Here is the story that was given about how the defense did not go with him being kidnapped while he was running. The defense did not say he was abducted while he was running and some crazy people killed him. They didn't go there. They actually said, the defense said, no, it did happen in the bedroom. Did happen in the bedroom. And how is this possible? Why would they say that? Why would they say that? I'm going to put up the alternative suspects here. Her daughter, Claire, and this ranch hand who was in good with Claire. Okay. Why do you think the defense went for, I'm going to check your comments, for that he was killed in the house? Why do you think they went there? Okay, I'm going to shift down to the bottom of all these thousands of comments. Let's see. Oh, was she a nurse? I did not know that. It was a cartel hit. Yeah, if only he was involved in that. To explain the blood on the mattress. Well, yeah, they did blame her daughter. That was the defense, was her daughter actually killed Dad. And her mother sat through the trial while they were presenting the claim that her daughter killed Dad, and he helped her. And the mom sat there and just went, okay. She went along with the program. She said, well, I only went along with the program because I knew that if they actually did come forth and finally think that she did it, I would then step up and say, oh, no, it was me. I'd save her. Well, that's the problem. Explain away all the blood evidence and her fingerprints, the blood evidence in the master bedroom. The defense had such a terrible problem. This is the funny thing about defenses. The defense often isn't trying to prove, and everybody always goes, and they don't have to prove anything. That's the state's job. No, but they do have to prove that the state is wrong, that the evidence the state is presenting is not enough to prove her guilt. They have to then maybe prove somebody else did it in order to get reasonable doubt. What do you do when all the evidence points to your suspect, your defendant? What do you do then? So they were stuck in a rock and a hard place. They had to either say, he went out for a run at 1 o'clock, and for whatever reasons, his blood ended up everywhere in the house, and everything else that points to her was just meaningless, which I didn't think that the jury was going to buy. So they went ahead and said, okay, we accept that he was killed in the bedroom. And when the defense accepted that, they're basically saying the evidence is strong, that blood evidence belongs to Bob and he got killed in the bedroom. But then they ended up with this interesting problem. Okay, if he was killed in the bedroom, how? Who? By whom? And she said, she swore he went running at 1 o'clock. Well, if she saw him leave the house to go running, how did he end up getting murdered in the bedroom? So then she's a liar. That's kind of a fuzzy area. So now she's a liar. But they said, no, Claire hated her father. Okay, Claire did hate her dad. They had this, let's see, they found this letter, and that's a dad, and she just goes and trashes him. But here's the main thing. Your history of betrayal of trust, lack of respect, and vicious threats cannot ever be forgotten. Apparently, she and her dad were on the outs. She was pissed at him. Could I see her killing her father? Sure. She was stronger than Mom. She probably could move the body. And then the ranch hand who was in on, hey, we want to have more stuff happening in the horse. We want to have more stuff happening here, and your dad is just getting in the way. And maybe they had a thing. Who knows? But the claim is maybe he helped move the body. So that was the alternative suspect, not other people, but her own daughter. And she sat through the trial and just listened to it and didn't do anything. Oh, here's the joke of it all. Both of them had alibis. And now she was supposedly with her aunt. Was she with her aunt? Now, I don't know. Supposedly it's the aunt's testimony that she was with her. I don't know if there's other proof. She was supposedly with her for 2 days. I don't know why she was there. I don't know if there's other evidence she was there, like her vehicle was there. I don't know where her aunt lived. I don't know how they made sure the alibi was solid. I don't. And his alibi, I don't know what it is, but supposedly he had a solid alibi too. So these two supposedly did have good alibis. And maybe the defense, and maybe she was willing to let the defense go with it because she knew that their alibis were good. And it was just some kind of, smoke and mirrors thing. And she's like, okay, whatever, because apparently the evidence is so strong against me in the house, we better say somebody else did it. So it was just a bizarre trial that the evidence was overwhelming that pointed to Jane committing the crime. And the defense had to come up with like the worst case, just the worst defense ever, because they couldn't come up with any good way to get it away from Jane. So they just came up with whatever they could. Now, later on, after time passes, there are claims, of course, from Loyola that, they ignored witnesses. Supposedly, again, this woman came forward at some point and said she saw those Hispanic guys right near the site in a vehicle with a white guy in between them. And whether she actually saw that or whether it actually happened on that day or whether it was even him is totally questionable. Then there was supposedly later on a witness or two who saw him jogging. But that wasn't right away. That's like years later. It's like, I saw that guy jogging. And I've seen too much time that a lot of times when these defense cases come forward, the proof of trying to prove innocence, they will re-interview everybody and their brother and look for one person who says, I think I saw the dude. And they're like, ha ha. So the defense didn't even come up with anything. So they didn't even go for the stranger homicide thing because it made no sense. There was zero evidence that he ever left the residence, except dead and in the back of a truck. So the evidence was overwhelming against Jane. And she got off, Loyola got her off on a technicality. And that's what oftentimes people get the Innocence Projects go for. They go for technicalities. And in this case, it was like the claim that all the blood wasn't tested and that the police did some things that weren't as good as they could have done. And maybe they didn't interview a witness, or they just said, they didn't go forth. They didn't pay any attention to a witness because they probably knew it was nonsense. So they didn't waste their time with a witness that really wasn't a witness. Or somebody said something to them, hey, I saw this. And they're going, yeah, I'm not buying that one. And so did the police do everything perfectly? Well, maybe not. And that's what they go for. They go for technicalities, not for proof that she didn't do it. They go for technicalities, and they succeeded. And I think they succeeded because she was already in her 70s. And when they brought this up, some judge decided, okay, let's go ahead and give her another shot at this, and we'll go do another trial. And then the new prosecution, not the old prosecution, new prosecution said, oh yeah, we're not gonna waste our time with this. Let her walk. She's elderly, let her live out her life. They just didn't care. But now they're getting sued. So, but this is why I get so upset with so many of the Innocence projects, because they don't seem to care whether the person's really innocent or not. They seem to care more like what they can prove to get the person released, regardless of whether the evidence is overwhelming. Just like Stephen Avery and the making a murderer crap. I mean, Stephen Avery, maybe he was wrongly convicted the first time because he looked just like the dude who did it, and he's a psychopathic sex maniac, So they got him, the wrong guy, but not because they were trying to do something wrong to him, but they really thought it was him. And yes, he was wrongly convicted, but he was a serial killer. So when he came out, he committed a similar crime, only this time, instead of raping, he killed. And all the evidence was overwhelming that Stephen Avery is guilty. Overwhelming. One of the most overwhelming cases of evidence I've ever seen. Yet, the defense is saying he didn't do it, and then his Innocence Project says, oh, he didn't do it, and then Netflix says he didn't do it, and there's tons of people now saying he didn't do it. He did it. So it's very frustrating. I don't mind when the Innocence Project takes up a case which is really questionable, where they look at the evidence and go, oh my God, what the heck? I don't have a problem with that, but a good portion of the time it's an anti-government type of sentiment. We don't like the power that the government has, so we're going to go and prove the government has screwed somebody over. And so it's not that it can't happen; it does happen. But my belief is that if you're going to be honorable in doing your work as an Innocence Project, once you step over the line for me, that you don't care whether they're really innocent or not, and you're lying to the public, and you're saying, oh, they're innocent, when all it is technicalities you got them off on, and nothing more than that, I don't trust you anymore. And I think that you are unethical, and you shouldn't exist. But if you're going to be a true Innocence Project, LA going after Scott Peterson, get out of here. It's disgusting. And so if you're going to be a decent Innocent Project, pick cases that are real, that when I look at it, I go, wow, thank God for the Innocence Project saving this person and holding the government accountable. I don't have a problem with that. But once you step over the line, you don't care about ethics anymore or truth. I'm done with you. So anyway, okay. Now let's see. The new judge also denied bringing the tire tracks. Oh yeah, the tire tracks was now considered junk science. They call a lot of stuff junk science these days. Pretty much almost everything is called junk science by the defense. And it's not junk science. It can be poorly handled. It can be poorly handled evidence or poorly analyzed evidence. This is true. And it's true for DNA as well. DNA, people think, oh, once you have DNA, it absolutely 100% proves a person did it or didn't do it. That is not true. And you have to be very careful of that. I mean, in some cases, it's absolutely solid. But it is also analyzed. And you can analyze something and say, oh, that bar, I think it's more this way than this way. And it's not. But you can see it that way. There can be fudging of paperwork where the lab simply says that DNA matched the person when it didn't. I mean, you can have just complete lying happening. You could with touch DNA. That's a whole bunch of nonsense. A lot of that is nonsense and meaningless, and that can be exploited either direction. So there are times when tool mark evidence, tire evidence, blood spatter evidence, you can misinterpret. You can. And that's why you have experts. And you have the prosecution said the tires were this, and the defense said the tires were that. The prosecution says this is what the blood spatter was, and the defense says it was not. It's always two different experts that don't agree with each other. So how the hell are they both experts, and how the hell is there facts here? So yes, there is a level of analysis which is questionable in any of this. And that's why I go with totality of the evidence. At a certain point, the totality of the evidence gets so strong, you're like, hey, come on now. You can't have this much. And boy, she is the most unlucky woman known to man. She just, for whatever reasons, sorry, my nose keeps itching. For whatever reasons, her husband keeps bleeding all over the place and spattering all over the ceilings and every location possible. And tire tracks match her car, and she happens to have the rope that's the same as the crime scene. And she was the only one at the house, one thing after the other, after the other, after the other. And then you say the totality of the evidence is pretty clear. So, I mean, look, some of your comments. I'll itch my nose some more. Oh, my God. At least she did 20 years. Now she's elderly. She's only in her 70s. She's not elderly. I'm sick. I hate the elderly word because I do not feel elderly, and I can commit a crime and keep on going. People, they have had killers in their 80s and 90s. So don't sell anybody short that they can be pretty lethal no matter what age they are. And there are people in their 80s and 90s who are much more physically able than some people in their 20s, depending on their circumstances of life. So the elderly world is thrown around as if that means that she's deserving, first of all, of living out the rest of her life in happiness, when her husband has been brutally murdered. And her husband had his whole life ahead of him. He was only 55 years old. He was probably looking forward to his next elderly years. He didn't get them. He got murdered. And now she can look, maybe she's having a good time. Maybe she can collect the $250,000 now of the insurance policy. Now, I'm not saying she didn't spend 20 years in prison, which sucks, but now she gets to collect money. She gets to sue everybody. She could be sitting pretty in the Bahamas with her pina colada, and hey, she's not that much older than me, and I could certainly enjoy all these fancy things too if somebody give me a whole crap load of money. So does she deserve to live the rest of her life in happiness and money because she did 20 years for killing somebody? Yeah. Yeah, she can't subsidize the rest of her life. And interesting enough, her daughter, here's what I think. Her daughter did not testify, neither did her daughter at the trial. Daughter's being accused of being a murderer. She doesn't testify. She just sits back. I think her daughter knew she wasn't going to get charged with a crime. She knew it was her mother. And she was hoping that by her standing by her mom, her mom would get off. When her mom would get off, Mom collects the $250,000. So Mom and Claire can keep the horse thing going, and they can share that $250,000. I think Claire wasn't in on the crime, but I think Claire was perfectly happy to benefit. Now, the two sons, I forgot to mention the two sons. Both the two sons thought she killed their dad. They testified in court against her. One of the sons died last year. The other son is still alive, and he still thinks she's guilty. Now, I have to question why. I can't imagine. I also have a daughter and two sons. I can't imagine that my sons would ever think that I would kill their dad. Now, we're divorced, but if their father ended up dead and I was in the area, they would never believe, in spite of the divorce, that I would go and kill their father. They know it. I don't do something like that. The fact that her own sons thought she killed dad, and the only one supporting her is Claire, but Claire and Mom are in on the horse thing together. So, just fascinating. We call it the wisdom discount, not the senior discount. Okay, some seniors don't have any wisdom at all. I go with the elders, the town elder. I mean, I don't mind being an elder. I am an elder of the, in life. I'm an elder. I've lived through a lot. It doesn't mean I'm necessarily wise, but I am an elder, and but I'm not elderly. Two different versions there. This is Susan Wilberforce. Oh, okay. I found not guilty of killing her husband, Simon Dale. I don't know this one. She's really dodgy. Was found guilty of fraud. It's so many cases out there like this. That's correct. If she wins the lawsuit, then it's us taxpayers that pay. Of course, we pay for the police work. We pay for the prosecutor work. We pay for the entire trial. We pay for housing her for 20 years in prison, and now we end up paying for appeals, and now the lawsuits. Yes, taxpayers pay all of that, so she doesn't pay for that. Did the daughter receive his life insurance money? I haven't seen anything about that. That's a good question, because if her mother murdered dad, he's still murdered. I don't know how life insurance would deal with that. I mean, if you murder somebody, you cannot collect the money because you're the murderer. And she was a beneficiary, but I don't know if there's a secondary beneficiary. And if mom murders your dad, it's not your damn fault. So you get the $250,000. I don't know. I didn't find that. Now, mind you, I repeat this all the time. People are like, Pat, you don't know enough about this case. You didn't research this long enough. No, this is not a book. I'm not doing a podcast of 20 hours long, over 10 different videos. No, I do what I can do in a short period of time to educate, not to be absolute about every single detail. That's not my purpose here. I'm not trying to solve the crime, and I'm not trying to prove anything, but I'm trying to help you understand the crime. And to me, the shoes were a big part of it. I'm just fascinated by that. Let's see what else you have to say. Yes, this is correct. Technicality doesn't equal innocence. Now, mind you, if you get somebody off on a technicality because you're trying to hold the feet of the government to the fire, in other words, you can't screw around and not do proper stuff. You can't, just because, let's say, you can't plant evidence, even though you know the person is guilty, but you want to make sure they get convicted. You plant some extra evidence. You can't do that. Even if the person is guilty as hell, you cannot plant evidence. You cannot lie. You cannot do this and this and that. There's a lot of things you technically cannot do. Otherwise, the case can crash and burn. And if they want to get somebody out on technicality, they should say, we're not an innocence project. What we are is a project to ensure that the government does their job in the way that they're required to do it. And if we find that they didn't do it that way, we're gonna nail them for it, and that person will get out even if they're guilty. I don't have a problem with that. That's a whole different matter. That's sort of what the system that in general is set up, that you can't find a person guilty unless there's enough evidence, and therefore the police have to do all their work right and the prosecution has to do its work right to the point where the person is clearly guilty. But if they lie, cheat, and frame somebody, yes, they should go down, and that person should be released, even if they're guilty. But that's not what the Innocence Project says. The whole word is innocence. And I would say, I'm going to actually, so far, I'm going to say way over 50%, if not over 70% of the cases I've looked at, even maybe higher, those people aren't innocent. They're guilty as hell. And so it's not an innocence project. A lot of times it's an anti-death penalty project, or it's an anti-government thing, or it's just a project for students. That's a fun thing for them to pursue and beat the odds on, and help some people truly believe they're innocent in spite of the fact that they're not, and they're trying to help that poor lady that's in prison. So I'm bothered by the lack of honesty in all the Innocence Project stuff. I say, if you want to tell me the truth and it's a technicality case and you got them off, then you're trying to keep the government honest, I'm okay with it. Oh, she's good. She's definitely Rocco. She's going to get a lot of money because once you do that, then she can say everybody screwed her over and she was innocent. Spent 20 years in prison, even though she was innocent. And if she truly were innocent, she deserves the damn money. You know what I mean? I mean, if somebody put me in prison for 20 years, I'd be pissed, and I would want to be compensated, even though you can never really compensate taking somebody's life away for 20 years. I'd at least want to nail them for it. You know what I mean? So yes, if she were innocent, I'd say she should get the money, but I just don't see where the innocence is in this particular case. Yep. Surviving son still doesn't talk to them. Yeah, he thinks that she's guilty. And that's both of them thought that, which is just fascinating to me. The mom and daughter cleanup tag team. I don't know that the daughter was home. This is I can't find this information. At least I didn't find this information. If you do, put it in the comments because I'm curious. Again, the claim was Claire, the daughter, was away for 2 days at the aunt's house. I don't know where the aunt lived. I don't know. There was absolute proof it was 48 hours. And what 48 hours are we talking about? In other words, could he have died earlier and Claire came home? That's another issue. She might have been at the aunt's, but could she have said to the aunt, I'm going to go shopping this afternoon, and mom only lived 30 minutes away and she came home and helped mom take the body away? I don't know because I can't find any information out about Claire and that whole alibi issue. I don't know why that's hidden. I find that bizarre, but I can't find any information on it. Even in the appeals, I see no information on Claire and the alibi, just that she has one. I don't know whether the prosecution doesn't want to bring Claire into the mix because then it confuses things, or whether the defense doesn't want Claire. Well, even though they said Claire did it, they don't really want to give evidence that Claire could have helped mom move a body. I don't know. That's again, when you're doing these shows, I have been unable to unearth that information. And when somebody gives me a $50,000 advance to write a book, I will work on that. I will be going through every piece of information that ever existed, and I will fly out to location and do all the interviews and all that kind of stuff. $100,000 advance. Got to cover enough time. But if I don't get that, YouTube's not paying me enough to spend that much time on this one case. I think that is true. There was too much evidence. That's interesting. Daughter hasn't opened her mouth to this day. Yeah. Well, daughter either was involved in some fashion or she's going to benefit in some fashion. And I just don't know what that is. But I think she apparently really had a dislike of her father. So I don't think she cared that her father was dead. I think she was probably maybe happy dad was dead. I mean, regardless. And I don't know yet what happened with the farm. I don't know whether they lost the farm, the horses. I don't have any idea what happened there. I haven't seen, they didn't have that in the documentaries. Like what happened? Did Claire pick up that $250,000 and keep the farm going? Did she just move away? I didn't find that. So, and that's possible. I don't think the daughter killed dad, but she knew. I think she did know. Yeah. Mexican looking guy is an easy target. Yeah. Sometimes that's true. But of course I live in Southern California. There's a lot of Mexican guys out there and a lot of Mexican ranch hands and a lot of Mexican people living in the area. So it's one of those things. It's not necessarily a racist thing to say, I saw two Hispanic dudes with a white guy in a pickup truck, because there's probably a lot of two Hispanic guys and a white guy in a pickup truck. You know what I mean? That's 3 guys going to work. One guy, and here's the thing. They got 2 guys. And one guy's driving, so he's like this. The other guy's like maybe chatting with him and looking out the window. The guy in the middle, what they say is like this, might be looking at his phone. You know what I mean? That was just 2000. Maybe he didn't have a phone. Maybe he's looking at papers. Who knows what he's doing? Just because his head down doesn't mean he's unconscious or dead. So, and if his head is down, you probably can't identify him very well. I think that witness was not a good witness. And especially to say in that area, that's just normal life. So that's not real good information. And that would prove that he actually went out running and was abducted. Just really, compared to the proof here, I mean, one is like this, and the other one's like this, it's like, and of course you could say, is it reasonable doubt? So this is where defenses go. Okay, they tell the jury, ignore well, they didn't even tell the jury. They said like, okay, the murder happened here. But let's assume the defense went the other direction. Okay, yes, his blood was all over the place, but that guy had bad nosebleeds and it was on his hand and he went like this, and his wife doesn't know how to clean up properly. And so yeah, there's blood every place, but they're just sloppy housekeepers. And so that doesn't mean anything, but he was seen by some witnesses in a vehicle. And that's reasonable doubt. This is what the defense, probably what they should have done, but they didn't. Because I think the evidence was so overwhelming here, they couldn't figure out how to get out of it. But if maybe it had been a little less blood everywhere, they would have just gone with, oh yeah, he clearly left, and somebody abducted him, and just whatever reasons, like some kind of, I don't know, they tried to rob him, it didn't go well. But all they have to do is get reasonable doubt in the mind of the jurors. And as I always point out, you got 12 people off a bus stop. That's my famous saying. And you got 12 well-meaning people who get in there, and all you need is one person to go, well, it's possible. Maybe he did have all these nosebleeds, and she's not lying. I don't think she could kill her husband. I think that guy, those Hispanic guys, he probably, was being robbed. That's all you need. One person that says, oh, maybe. That's not how reasonable doubt is supposed to work. Reasonable doubt is where you analyze the evidence, and there actually is reasonable doubt, not just the fact that you're going to ignore the evidence and think if one simple thing is confusing, well, I'll throw out all the evidence. It's like OJ. It's like everything pointed to him, but what about that glove? Let's throw out all the evidence. Of course, that was very political, but Casey Anthony, massive evidence. And people keep saying the prosecution didn't do their job, and I disagree. It was so freaking obvious. But Jose Baez said, but Daddy could have been involved and did bad things to her, and then he would have. And one juror went, maybe. Let's ignore all the other evidence of a premeditated homicide. A woman who didn't want her child chloroformed her, put tape over her face until she suffocated to death, put her in the back of her vehicle, and went out partying and did all these other things. This is a premeditated homicide by a psychopathic human being. But where was the reasonable doubt? I don't know. But when you get people who ignore all the evidence in favor of one thing that they go, I can't explain that, or maybe that could be true, then you have disaster, and people get away with murder. Okay, let's say, don't look at that, look at this. Yeah, and that's a defense ploy. And people say, well, that's the defense's job. But, I've always felt that justice shouldn't come down to game playing and trickery and lies and which is a lot of what trials are these days. And that sometimes includes the prosecution, mind you, not only the defense. But it appalls me because justice is supposed to be meted out in a somber way, with not a dog and pony show, and not full of all kinds of nonsense. It should be something very, very serious, and nobody should be playing games, because the evidence should be presented properly on both. Oh, geez.
Jenny, or one other.
I forgot to turn my phone off. I usually remember that, but Jenny is calling. Jenny is calling. So one of my friends. She probably wants to go out to a movie with me. Sounds like a good plan. But anyway, I'm appalled when I see games played in a courtroom. To present a case is different. To present a case in a solemn way where you present the evidence for and against, I'm okay. But the game playing and the lying and the paying experts to lie, this whole stuff is just appalling to me. And so we may have the quote the best justice system in the world, but I don't think that's true. I don't know every country's justice system, whether they're any better, but I'm appalled by our justice system. I think it's embarrassing and wrong and not scientific, and it bothers me. So anyway. Wait a minute. She's not a murderer, just misunderstood. Well, yeah, maybe. You hate poor Casey. I don't know. Interesting. I'll just point this out. As a profiler, I don't have great emotional feelings for or against defendants, or even for or against victims. Because I do so much of this work, I don't sit there and go, oh my God, this person didn't deserve to die, and that person's a horrible person for killing them. I don't get into that. I point out just the obvious, whether it's legally the person should have been convicted or not, and whether they should have, that's what, and whether the victim has gotten justice, and the community has gotten justice, and whether we have a dangerous person still out there. So I keep my emotions out of all of the cases that I talk about, which is why I laugh sometimes. If it were my loved one, it would be different. It would be different. Then you would see a hell of a lot of emotion. And I always say to myself, as a profiler, and as a person who does shows like this, and sometimes does have dark sense of humor, what if it were my kid? What if it were my child, my grandchild, my sister? What if it were somebody who was close to me? How would I feel about anything? Well, I'd feel just like every other family of a victim feels. Absolutely. And I'd hate every freaking person on YouTube. And I wouldn't look at YouTube, and I wouldn't look at social media, because I'd hate everybody out there who's talking about my loved one, unless they were doing something educational to help solve crimes. Hopefully that's me, but still, I'm pretty sure if I talk about certain crimes, the families of the victims wouldn't want to hear me talk either, because it's too painful, and I don't think they should. I think they should stay away from that, because people who are out here out in the world, it's not their loved one, and they have the ability to talk about things in a more unconnected way. And even if they claim they feel all this sympathy and all this crap, especially this YouTubers and stuff, oh my God, they show I see that. Oh, they show so much sympathy to the victims. No, that's what they do. That's their job, is to show sympathy, And we all have sympathy, but that we're emotionally connected is just not true. It's just not. I mean, because there are people that we don't know, and we can't have that level of feeling for somebody we do not know. We just intellectually feel bad for them. I feel intellectually bad for every victim and every family of a victim. But it's not the same thing as my family being harmed. And I've had friends that it's like, even like with disease. I mean, you hear about diseases, and you hear about other people's struggles with diseases, and intellectually you go, oh my God, that's terrible. But when your loved one has cancer, MS, ALS, when you're sitting by them when they're dying, it's a different thing. That's a different thing. So, did you listen to me? I just got jury duty summons, and I screwed it up and threw it out. Now, you're not supposed to admit that on a social media site. You see, you're supposed to do that quietly so that you can pretend you never received the notice. If you admit you received the notice and threw it out, then you've committed some kind of crime, because you're supposed to respond to jury duty when you get that piece of paper. And so, just for future information, do not admit it in public. Privately, privately do that. Well, you're very good, Christy. I think of jury duty. I always think of it, but if it would be me on trial, so I'd show up for service. That's a good-hearted citizen thing, and I think most citizens who show up for jury duty do think that way. Otherwise, they'd have nobody for jury duty. But an awful lot of people try to get out of jury duty, and they succeed. And of course, people like me will never be allowed on a jury. So that's just not even going to happen. Usually what happens is that they will just waste a day where I have to go down to the courthouse and sit there just so they can thank and excuse me and toss me. The defense will just get rid of her. Yes, I think a lot of people do want to do the right thing. Then there are people who want to do the wrong thing. People forget about that. Some people want to go on jury duty because it's a thrill for them, or because they have some issue. It could be a racial issue, it could be a political issue, it could be sex abuse issues. It could be They have an agenda behind why they're doing that. So just because they accept jury duty, you could have 11 great people, and that one psychopath sitting at the end is playing the game. So that is, it's very tricky. It's very, very tricky. So, well, you'd love to be on a jury. Well, if you would love to be on a jury, you better, I don't know, people who've been on a jury have interesting experiences, both pro and con. Some people, depending on how long the jury duty is, it can take up 2 or 3 months of your life. It can just mess you up. You could be seeing horrible things you never want to see. You could be on jury duty with a bunch of bullies or people that are idiots, and you're like, Jesus God, these people just, they don't think right. And it can be very frustrating. It can be very tiring. It can be very boring. It can be very upsetting. It's not, being on a jury is an underpaid slave job is what it is. And people who are not, they're not people prepared to do jury duty. They're not. And so anybody who survives it, hey, I say my heart's with the people who do the best they can. I don't have anything against individual jurors. I think, some of them just care and they want to be a good citizen and they do the best they can. But, yeah, again, I go into my anti-jury duty thing. In this case, they found her guilty. And here's another interesting thing. A jury found her guilty and now she's gotten off. What happened to the jury system? I guess it doesn't matter. Interestingly enough, the jury can be dumped when political pressure comes in, when these innocence projects come in and get a massive amount of media attention. The jury's decision can be dumped. Now they don't matter. I always think of the Adnan Syed case, which I did a video on, as a Maryland case, and it became a very political issue. First, I had the podcast that was super popular, probably the most popular podcast ever on the Adnan Syed case. And they pushed the concept that he was possibly innocent. And then more and more got pushed that way. And then it became a political football. And he was then freed. The jury found him guilty, but it didn't. Now the jury didn't matter. Their decision didn't matter. So if we're going to believe in the jury system, why doesn't their verdict stand? So we're very hypocritical. We're totally hypocritical. It's all a matter, and sometimes it's just a great deal matter of politics and money and media. Yeah, 12 Angry Men. Yeah, it's good. That's a good movie. Very good movie. So yeah. Anyway. So that's this case. It's a fascinating case, and yes, I think the evidence was overwhelming that she was guilty. I think the jury made the right decision. I see no other person who could have been involved except for maybe Claire, or the ranch hand, if those alibis were a little sketchy, and maybe they helped in a certain way. I have no idea, but I think the jury verdict was correct. At least she spent 20 years in prison. At least that's something. But now this whole thing plays out where now she's innocent. And this is the thing, is she's not really been proven innocent, mind you. She's out on a technicality. But people will say they put this poor woman away. She was innocent. They'll go there even though that was never proven that she was innocent. And that's what bothers me, because now the myth of her innocence will continue on. And she gets money and attention and everything else for being innocent when there's no proof that she was. And then that goes on when you have these exonerations. You'll see that. I think it's even here. This one, the National Register. It's called the National Registry of Exonerations, and she is listed here. There she is. She's been exonerated. But I'm going to the end of this very long thing here. Hold on. I want to see what the end says. All right. Now here's what the end. I almost threw it over again. Why is this unstable today? Jeez. Okay. Let's see the last thing here. On April 22nd, 2020, Jane was released from prison after the Loyola PI, that's the Innocence team, legal team, filed a motion arguing she was at risk of contracting COVID-19. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, so LPI team. I'm sorry, maybe I don't know if it's Loyola. She got out in 2020 because she might get COVID-19 in prison. Ultimately, an evidentiary hearing on the claims of new and false evidence was scheduled for July 27th, 2020. On 24th of July, the prosecution requested a hearing and announced that it agreed that Jane's conviction should be set aside, citing the results of the DNA testing. DNA testing was like on a couple items, and it came up with some touch DNA that was not hers, which is fairly meaningless because if you're using a rope that's been on a farm, pretty much everybody and their brother probably has touched it. And so this is all meaningless crap. And then the prosecution said they would also seek to retry Jane. But in December of 2020, Superior Court Judge Bradley Weinreb ruled that Jane was entitled to a new preliminary hearing because Merritt testified falsely about the evidence in the master bedroom. I don't think that's true. I think this was the issue where he said that all the blood evidence was tested, and they said, oh, no, it wasn't all. It was just, I think it was just one of those ways of saying something that they're using against him. Ultimately, a preliminary hearing was held and lasted 29 days. Her preliminary hearing in 2000 had lasted just 3 days. In January 2022, following the preliminary hearing, the defense filed a motion to dismiss the case. The court has given the prosecution every opportunity to make its case as to why Ms. Dorotik should be bound over for another trial, and they have presented no evidence that overcomes the recent results of DNA testing that exculpate Ms. Dorotik. It does not exculpate her. It's just because something isn't your DNA, untouched DNA, doesn't mean you weren't there. That's nonsense. Ms. Dorotik lost her husband. Her children lost their father. The person who killed Mr. Dorotik, however, has never been held to account because the wrong person was convicted. Ms. Dorotik respectfully requests that the court dismiss the case so she can now, at the age of 75, finally start picking up the pieces of her shattered life and move forward in peace. But on March 22, the judge, Robert Kearney, denied that motion and ordered Jane to stand trial once more. On Monday, May 16th, 2022, as prospective jurors awaited the retrial to begin, Assistant DA Kurt Mechals, Mechals, who had tried the case in 2001, dismissed the case because, quote, the evidence is now insufficient to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Afterwards, Dorotik told the media, I always believed from the very beginning that at some point the truth would come out. No, the truth never came out. And I would be exonerated. I never thought for a moment it would take 22 years. In June 2023, she filed federal civil rights suit seeking damages of San Diego County and various law enforcement and crime laboratory officials. So, yeah. So, this exoneration stuff to me bothers me. Technicality allowed her to be freed. I don't see there was any evidence. And, if you read all these reports, everything is so cleverly worded and shrouded in very vague stuff that it makes it sound terrible. Just like they say, they didn't test they didn't test all the blood evidence. No, they didn't. They did what they're supposed to, the representative blood evidence. And it was all his and not a donkey, not a horse, not a dog, not a raccoon. Wasn't anybody else in the house either. It was his. So we can word all kinds of things in a way that allow you to accomplish your task, but it doesn't mean that it was any proof that she didn't commit the crime. That's just nonsense. Now, she is free. She can do what she wants. I can say from here that to me, the evidence supports her guilt, but in a court of law, and she was found guilty in a court of law, but now, according to that, she has been released. But I don't believe that she has been exonerated unless yeah. I'm riled up. Well, I'm not riled up. I'm never riled up. It's just when I look at these things, I try to bring forth the information that's true about this stuff. And I think it's not so riled up about her or this particular case, but I have a thing against the Innocence Project, and that's true because I think they're unethical. And I'll stand by that. Unethical and untruthful. So, Norma, what? I fence it? When the hell do I ever fence it? Almost never. I don't know what you're talking about. Michaela, fence it? Or is that sarcastic? We did get psychopath today, had to wait a bit, but Pat did say it. Yes, psychopath. 12 people in a bus stop and psychopath are my most favorite statements. No, she'll never go back to prison. Why would she go back to prison? They dropped the case. No, I take that back. Take it back. Yes. If there is new evidence that comes forth, yes, they can still retry her. Yes. I did read that. So, but what new evidence at this point would come forth? I mean, could somebody come and say she did it and that would be provable? I don't know how else you'd. Now, by the way, in case you're wondering why her fingerprints, I mean, she had fingerprints in that one syringe, but why wasn't her DNA in certain places? Well, my guess is because she wore gloves. I mean, if you're going to move a body, you might as well put gloves on. If you're going to do certain things, you could just use gloves. And mind you, a person who works on a farm and does a lot of stuff that requires that has a lot of rough stuff on your hands, I'm sure there's a pile of gloves laying around. So the horse might speak up. It was my. I saw her do it. No. How do they sleep at night? The same way a lot of defense attorneys sleep at night. They say it's our job, and our job is to do our part. And if the people on the other side can't stand up and override us, well, that's just too damn bad. We've done our part, and apparently that's acceptable to them. Yeah, it's. I don't know what their whole agenda is, but each person, I'm sure, it's involved in innocence projects have different agendas. I just wish they get the proper agenda and then honor that proper agenda and do things honestly and ethically. And I just don't think they do. I'm not saying every single innocence project across the country, but I'm bothered by the whole point that they say innocence when that's not a requirement for them. They aren't concerned whether the person is innocent. They're just concerned whether they can get them off, like a defense attorney, and then claim they were innocent. And I think that's disingenuous, and I shouldn't just no. But they have massive power in the media, massive power in the media. And that's why I say to you, when you investigate any of these things yourself, do research, you're going to have to go 20 pages in on Google to get the information. And usually it's an appeal that will give you, like this whole stuff about the whole thing in the appeal about the cleaning equipment with blood on it. That wasn't anyplace else but in the appeal. And I'm like, holy crap, So appeals are the place I go to whenever I see somebody let off. When I go and look at what the facts of the case were, that they're not being told to the public anymore. Now the media is involved and the Innocence Project is giving their slant on it. But a lot of times they'll say, well, this guy didn't commit this crime. He's Mr. Innocent. And he comes out and he's smiling and says, I don't have any anger against anybody. That's because you did it. And everybody's going, oh, this wonderful guy. And everybody's so thrilled. And I go back and look at that. I'm like, the guy was found with the gun, blood on his body. He said, I killed her. But it's a technicality that gets him out. And now nobody reads the appeals and finds out what the true facts were. It must drive the police nuts. It works so hard to do the job. And then the prosecution works really hard. And all that information is hidden and from the public. And so the public believes, oh my God, look what the government did to this person. Now, mind you, it does happen. It does happen. And the problem we have then is, do we do a broad brush where we do 50 cases where 47 of them are technicalities and there are 47 are actually guilty and 3 actually were wrongly prosecuted and they should be held accountable, the prosecution, the government, and the police, on the 3 that were wrongly prosecuted? Yes, we should. But now it's like, oh, all 50 cases are wrongly prosecuted. And then it's like, oh my God, every single case now, people think there's something corrupt going on. And I say I've spoken up against corruption. I'm not somebody who will keep quiet about that when I see it. But we see this nonsense in the that's happening in Boston right now with the Karen Reed case. And there are people out there going, oh, the police are corrupt and the government's corrupt and the crime scene people are corrupt. Everybody's corrupt. No, they're not. It's all fake. It's all a ridiculous conspiracy theory. But since people are believing in Sebastian Rogers, the police are doing something about they're hiding evidence. They're not They don't care about Sebastian Rogers. Of course they do. Riley Strain. Oh my God, he didn't drown accidentally. Oh my God, no, the government's covering up for that too. So if we would be rational and focus on, look at facts and truth. And let's not say all these people did all these things, which they didn't. Let's just focus on the few bad apples out there. There are bad apples out there. And I want those bad apples taken to task. But if you're going to mix that with things that aren't even true, then you lose credibility, at least to me. Now, maybe to the public, they don't know any better because they're hearing what's in the media and they're hearing from a whole bunch of stuff that's just simply not true. And so they're buying it and they think, so yeah. And it's just, it's hard to get people to then be fair and logical about these things when they're getting so much misinformation. It's not really people's fault. I mean, it's hard to get the real information. It's easy to believe whatever is put out there by the media and whoever has control of that media. So, yeah. So anyway, oh, you live near Canton? Oh, that case, unbelievable case. Yeah, this is often true. They're putting murderers back on the street. Now, luckily, most of the murderers are pretty old, so they probably won't commit another crime. But it just again is not the truth, and it bothers me. I say if you want to get somebody out because of technicalities, say this guy's the evidence points to him being guilty, but the government didn't do things properly, and therefore he should not have been convicted. I won't be happy that he's going to get out, but I would be okay with that because that would be honest. But that's not what they're about. So until they prove me wrong, and I would like to see an Innocence Project be above board, shall we say. But I haven't seen it yet. Oh, really? Well, that's interesting. A bit on Alyssa Lamb immediately changed my opinion. Oh, I'm glad to hear that. It's also difficult, when you're on the internet and you're trying to learn about cases. Somebody recommended a channel to me, and they said, this guy's really good. Pat, you obviously haven't ever been to this channel. And I had been to the channel before. I'm not going to give the name of it. I had been to the channel before, and he's got 500,000 subscribers. And I put in Alyssa Lamb, Maura Murray. I put in all these major cases. I went to his most popular cases too. And I found out, I thought he was wrong on all of them. And he was like real earnest about it. But I'm like, this guy has no skills. And he's going with little conspiracy theories and he's suggesting that maybe this is true and maybe that's true. And I'm like, no, none of this crap is true. And he's got all these people jumping in and going, oh my God, you're right. That could be true. No, it isn't. What he is making a lot of money. I'm not going to call him a grifter. Maybe he really believes what he says and is trying to truly understand these cases. But he's misleading people all over the place because he doesn't have skill in any kind of analysis. He should just stick to storytelling, but he adds in his own viewpoints. And I put two categories: either be a storyteller, where like even I will go and just to get the basics of the case, good storyteller, or be an analyst. And if you're an analyst, you should be a detective or profiler, somebody who is going to be able to understand the evidence. So what I see in this guy, he's misleading people all over the place. That guy could be on a jury, and he'd be that 12th juror who thinks, oh my God, no, I think there's evidence here that proves the person didn't do it. And he'd be wrong. So skill is getting YouTube revenue. Well, nobody does YouTube, so they're not going to work hard and not get paid for it. So, and I looked at his channel, and he obviously does work hard. He sits there and he gets all kinds of information. He spends a lot of time doing it. He probably works full time, but he also probably makes about at least 10 times as much money as I do. Because he's got massive followers, because they love the conspiracy theories. They like the little rabbit holes that he keeps taking people down. And this is the problem with the media in general. They love rabbit holes. They like anything that gets people excited. And so when you even watch any of the regular crime shows out there, I mean, Court TV has gotten pretty awful. I mean, I just cringe when I watch it now. I'm like, oh my God, why are you having these people on your show that don't know what they're talking about, but they're doing it because same as YouTube, they're making money from getting people excited and tuning in because they want to see this. They want the excitement. And so, yeah, that always makes way more money than educational channels. There's a reason why. What's the, now I'm blanking here. Besides PBS, what's oh, is it still PBS? What is the educational channel that the government supported for so long? Not the radio, but the actual educational that did a lot of really solid, interesting stuff. Does anybody remember what the name of that is in the US? I'm blanking on it now. Wow, I don't even know if they exist anymore. I don't know if I know PB. Is it PBS? Okay, maybe it is PBS. I'm not talking about the radio. Is that the video? No. I'm talking about. Okay, I know there's the radio stuff, but is that also? Was that also like television? Was that also television? MTV. Oh no, NPR is also that's also radio. What's it? Oh, maybe it is PBS. Maybe NPR is the radio and PBS is the public broadcasting system. You're right. Okay, it was PBS. Sorry, PBS is TV. Yes, PBS, at least in my day, used to have a lot of very educational programs, but it was supported by donations and I think government, and also they did these things to get people to donate. And they did, I don't believe they had advertising. So, but they did stuff that was, I'm not saying it was always correct, but at least it was more educational. And because of that, they didn't get the massive amount of viewers that you're going to get on Nancy Grace or Court TV or any of that stuff, because that's more reality TV. That's TV that's supposed to get your blood boiling and get you excited and everybody jumps in on each other. And that's why I won't do it anymore. I hate those panels because they come to me, Pat Brown, what do you think? And I give one sentence and then, what do you think, Matt? And then Matt would go, well, I think Pat Brown is completely wrong. And I don't even get a chance to discuss it. I have to fight back in some kind of stupid TV battle. And it got worse and worse over the years. And so that's why I don't participate in that any longer. But, but that's what people want to see. So it does. So MSM and YouTube, there's a similarity in all of that. And everybody wants to earn a living, and there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody who works TV should get paid. Everybody who does YouTube should get paid because you can't work for free. But there are some people who get paid a whole hell of a lot for stuff that is garbage. So the Pat Brown throwdown, yeah. Oh my goodness, yeah, CrimeCon, yeah. I won't go there. I don't like CrimeCon. I find it kind of like this sick. I don't know. Like We Love Crime weekend, where everybody's just so excited about meeting everybody. It has to do with crime, and it's just, I don't know, the whole thing just sits wrongly with me. So don't like it. It just, yeah, it's too circusy. Well, it's like, if you go to Comic-Con or Doctor Who convention or something, you love a fictional thing and you go there and you're just fun to dress up as people and see the different actors who are involved. That doesn't bother me, but somehow celebrating crime at CrimeCon is what it feels like to me. It feels like a celebration. They even do cruise ship CrimeCon now. And it's not, I mean, they try to say there's educational stuff because different people speak, which is true, but it's just that people pay a lot of money to go. And I don't know. I won't do it. It just creeps me out. But anyway. So anyway, that's it. I think I've covered as much as I probably can. And I have to decide if I want to edit out my little disaster today. That's twice in a row I've hit the iPad. But this time it hit the cord too. So it wiped me out. But I'll see how bad it is, because sometimes people don't know to push ahead just a speck and watch the rest of the show. And they're like, oh, you disappeared. So they They just don't watch, they just run away. So, but anyway, thank you for being here. And I'll be back this week for the hangout, and I will probably see some of you there. See you next time. Bye.